What is going on, boys and girls? Welcome to Bass Kayak and Beers podcast. I got my guest host, well, my co-host. I'm gonna stop calling him guest host because he's more of a regular now, Mr. MVP, MVP, MVP,
Championship MVP, not the whole.
championship MVP,
Yeah, not the whole
KFL.
season MVP.
Congratulations, man! 96 and what, 3/4 inch in
A
Chickamauga.
quarter. Yeah, 96 and a quarter.
I don't know a lot of history about Chickamauga. How does that stack compared to other tournaments out there in Chickamauga as far as inches goes? I mean, 36 inches.
I don't know. I know it was tougher in hell that day. I mean, it wasn't. I had a great day in comparison to the other anglers on the water. There was, a good amount of fish caught, but for the size, I definitely, I was on the right fish.
Man, we were happy. I was following along. I was one of those million viewers checking out the KFL live streaming.
Like 300, I think. Yeah. Come on.
Yeah, I mean, I'm
in all fairness, I know people have talked about that. Like Greg sued that guy, the guy who came up with who said those numbers, because he was legitimately telling them those numbers, and Greg did file a lawsuit against him. So I mean,
I did get it.
I'm not sticking up for it because the guy, he says you're
not standing by what Greg said, but you're standing by Greg.
No, I think he was lied to for sure. But if I don't want to get into that conversation.
I was just saying. I was just saying. I was watching it with Amelia. You're the one who cleared it up. We could have gone with 1 million. Nobody would have doubted. And other than our special guest for today, but I mean, other than that, I mean, anyways, congratulations on the Kingfishers, right?
Coosa Kingfishers, man.
Coosa Kingfishers, and our own
now disbanded Pelicans.
And our own Dustin Nichols was there too. Was he fishing at Chickamauga?
No, he had to work that day. The only event he was able to fish is whenever we went down to Okeechobee. He fished that.
Nice.
It was me, him, and Nick Dyer fished that one together.
You know, you and I have talked about KFL. One of the things that attract me about KFL, and you've touched on it, is how you grow as an angler, right? Because now you're fishing as a team, and people are, you get ideas. You want to win. If you want to win, you're gonna have to spill some juice with your teammates to kind of help this.
It's 100% open.
And I'll be honest with you, I would love to try it at least one season. So I don't know. Is there a draft I can enter? I'd be a first round draft pick, I think.
Yeah, you just tell people that you're open. There's no Texas teams right now.
There's no really?
No, there won't be. There won't be this year. The people that fish into, I know Oklahoma's taking some people, but I'm not doing it next year either.
If you're on a team, I'm a free agent, or I have to go through a draft. I don't know. Is it a draft, free agency?
Dude, I don't know.
I thought you knew, but somebody.
No,
we got somebody. We got, I guess, private checks. Texas is banned forever, says our special guest. Not just the Bandits, right?
Yeah, I think the owner and the actual team, not the players. They can. The only reason it was a season and a half is, dude, I didn't come up with that either. Yeah. I don't want to stick up for this stuff. I didn't make these.
We're talking about your great performance, 96 inches.
Yeah, let's get back to that.
The for your team, you carried the team. Like, you were the one man. I mean, no disrespect to the other guys, but you're the top 5 fish were your fish. Is that correct?
Yeah, but man, it was,
it's a team effort.
Total team deal. So
I know
it
you can flex on them. You can trash talk your own team. Like, I had to carry you guys. You had to give me your paycheck. Do you say anything like that?
No, man. It was totally this season. Like some days Coley would have a great day, or somebody else. Chuck had a great day, or whoever it was. It just, that day was my day, and it was a hell of a day.
I honestly was watching along, and I was really happy for you, man. Really proud of you. Really happy. I know how hard you work to improve yourself as an angler, and it certainly paid off, man. So congratulations. All jokes aside. Speaking of KFL, we have, one of them is already 2 KFL super fans. They're going to be our special guests for today. Jeff Malott and Ryan Lambert. Ryan Lambert is running in late, but Jeff Malott is going to come in. Before we get Jeff Malott in, quick thank you to our sponsor. Go to DouglasOutdoors.com. Check out the full lineup of LRS, X Matrix, and award-winning fly fishing rods. And they're going to come out with a new lineup of rods. They're going to be about $100, $125. I haven't seen him. I know Fred Contai, who's the rod designer, is very excited about those rods, and he's been working hard on designing those rods. They're going to be, from what I understand, just as good as the other ones, but a lot more budget friendly. So keep an eye on that. We'll go to the quick waypoints commercial, and we'll bring Jeff Malott on up in here in the podcast. So stick around, everybody. It's going to be a fun show. All right, Mr. Jeff Malott, the old man from KBN. How you doing?
What's up, man? Hey, I'm repping. I got the Douglas hoodie. I got the Bass Kayak and Beers
limited
hoodie.
Edition. Bass Kayak
Limited
and Beers.
edition. Yeah, I knew I was coming on, so I went and got it out the closet.
Dude, that hoodie does look super comfortable.
It is. It's a what do they call it? A gator? I don't know.
I don't know. I know this. It is my 100% favorite hoodie. Yeah, and when it gets cold, I love it. So
it's KBN approved, so everybody can check it out. But I was gonna wear my KBN hoodie, but it's still warm in Texas. It was almost 80 here today, so can't wear that hoodie.
And I apologize. I'm out in the garage. I may not sound the best, but I work from home like 90% of the time. So I was trying to get out of my office for just a little while. I didn't want to sit in there.
We're not good enough for your whole mic setup. We get it.
I want to start this off with, what do you do? You were in the Air Force, right?
Mm-hmm.
What do you do?
What I do now?
No, what do you do then?
Oh, I was security police, or their version of MP.
Oh. Where were you at?
Why not, mine not, baby? Freezing's the reason.
The whole time?
The whole time. Well, I mean, I did some training other places, but I was just in 4 years, and I was there the whole time. So.
Yeah, I you know what? I know I met a couple of people that were at Minot, and they didn't hate it. Like, you know, it's like it's supposed to be one of the worst spaces, but I think it's one of, you know, it is what you make it, I guess.
Hey, back in the day, I used to play a lot of basketball. So all you could do up there was play basketball or drink, and the drinking age for military was 18 when I got there. So it was all good. Play basketball when I wasn't working, and we drank into the wee hours. It was good to go.
What years were you in?
92 to 96.
Okay. There you go.
Yep. And now my son has now been in the Air Force and got out.
Oh, really?
Yep. He was a fireman in the Air Force.
Nice. Well,
man,
appreciate what you do.
So you were
out. What do you do now?
Yeah, I went in 97, so you were already out whenever I went in.
Yep, there we go. What'd you say, Armando? What do I do?
I apologize. Yes, I interrupted. What do you do now?
I work for the VA now.
Okay.
Yeah, I work in employee education. I used to work on the clinical side in radiology. Now I work in employee education, doing all the employee training and stuff like that.
Nice.
These guys in Birmingham need some training. Come home.
Yeah, probably. I'm blessed to work at one of the best VAs in the country, and I know there's a lot out there that struggle, and we're trying to change that mantra at all the VAs.
There you go.
Well, Jeff, first of all, congratulations on what you and Ryan Lambert have accomplished with the KBN podcast, Kayak Bass Nation, and not just the podcast, but the brand itself. You've really created a community, for better or worse. The quote unquote cesspool. It's fun sometimes. Most of the time it's fun, actually, but I know it gets heavy or for a few out there. But still, regardless, you guys have really built a community and a brand that I believe has a lot of influence. And we are here in Paddle and FinTech, proud of what we do. But we recognize what a great job you guys are doing at KBN and really spreading the word and making it fun and interesting. I know you guys love to give your expressions and your opinions, and it's never diluted. And that's one thing that I appreciate about you. Not always I'm going to agree, but I really appreciate the honesty and the transparency in which you guys run the KBN, not just the podcast, but the brand itself. What do you think has been the key for you and Ryan Lambert to achieve so much influence in this space?
Well, I said it before. I don't know if it was on this podcast or another one, but the whole thing is kind of an accident to begin with.
Oh yeah.
But I think the key to success with it all is Ryan and I are very opinionated. We don't have much of a filter on our opinions, for better or worse. And we've always tried to let that bleed through into the group with letting people do the same thing.
Yeah.
Let those and frankly, early on, it was very, very ugly.
Yeah.
And it's kind of morphed. We always say it self-polices to a point. So it's kind of self-policed where there's still some pretty rough rough nights depending on what the topic is. But at the end of the day, it seems to like ebb and flow and police itself and level out. And we do have a lot of fun. I mean, if it wasn't fun, I wouldn't mess with any of this. If the podcast wasn't fun, I wouldn't do it. If the tournaments weren't fun, I wouldn't do them. And the page is typically fun. I mean, I like to laugh. I laugh at myself as much as anything. So, I think that's the key is we don't take ourselves too seriously, and we try to stay authentic to what we are, which is kind of an open forum and opinions welcome.
And Dan, you wanted to add something right there? I didn't.
Oh man, I listen to y'all every week. I think it's great. Even people that I know that are haters of KBN, they still listen to y'all.
Oh yeah.
It's like a car wreck, man. Can't turn away.
That's awesome. If somebody posts something and then you post something on there, you better be ready to catch some hell, because I mean, as soon as you click, send or whatever, dude, they can blow you up quick.
It's wild. What's funny is a lot of people act like the KBN group is a subset of anglers, but it's really the same people. It's just they cut loose differently on there there's a few people that don't post on other pages, I guess, but overall it's the same people. I mean, it's not like 15,000 unique anglers on there, but they just a little more free with the words they'd be slinging out there on our page, it seems.
Out of the people that you have assigned as administrators, who's your favorite personality that comments on KBN?
That's an admin or moderator?
No. Aside, just not as not excluding the admins, the moderators, the people that you assigned for that. Just the people that comment. Who's one of your more colorful and favorite participants?
Man, I don't know. There's a lot of good ones. I mean, a lot of people don't like the Allen brothers. I think they're hilarious. I like when they post on there. The guys from California, Jason Yang, Abel Pentino, they're hilarious. Yeah. Ben Meredith doesn't post a lot, but when he comments, it's usually pretty dang funny. Jim Clark was the OG. He was like, he was the guy, but he kind of disappeared for a while. But I've seen his head pop up this week or last couple of weeks a little bit. So
riding motorcycles and driving boats, man.
Yeah. So Jim's back. He's been back lately, but he's one of the OGs on there. But there's a lot, man. There's a lot of fun. There's a lot of funny people on there.
I like Ryan Van Tyne.
He's a
Halloween, and he's always got some good stuff.
The Allen brothers, I'm assuming one of them is Cliff Allen, right?
Yeah, People's Champ.
Who's his brother? I didn't know he had a brother. John. Oh, okay. Yeah, Cliff is one of my favorite ones. I don't always agree with what he has to say, but I love his, that he doesn't shy away from making his own opinion and taking over conversations. He's a funny guy. And Cliff is a hell of an angler too in Texas. Yeah. He doesn't fish a lot of tournaments, but props to Cliff. So, I mean, I've seen on tournaments, I'm like, this guy is, he talks the talk, but he kind of walks the walks too. I like to see him more in national trails.
And you know what? It's the internet, in a nutshell. Cliff, if you know him, Armando, in Texas, he's totally different than you would think from watching what he says on our page.
Yeah.
Like he's just a calm, quiet, gentle giant of a man. You know what I mean? Doesn't like in person. He's just funny, chill, drink some beers, have a good time. But he's not obnoxious or loud or anything like that.
Nothing like he's on the.
No,
it's funny. We all have our alter ego. We talk about we're all keyboard warriors. We're all armchair anglers, armchair tournament directors. I'd be hypocritical for me to call out somebody for something that I know we all do in this space, especially on the KBN. So for better or worse, we thank you for the KBN group chat. It is entertaining.
I've been waiting for the day, man, that somebody comes up to me like at a weigh-in and says, "What the hell is wrong with y'all?" But nobody's done it yet. So
yeah, a lot of tough guys, keyboard warriors. I have to ask you because I've been one of those, and I agree with you. Early on, it was really bad. I was like, what am I doing here? I'm going to get out of here. But then, a couple of weeks later or a couple of months later, I'll be back. And they're like, no, it's still bad. And I'm sure you had a couple of those, but it really, like you said, it really has, like it's toned down in the sense that now it's more grounded into really things that are going in the kayak fishing community. There's still Cliff Allen's still going to give his opinion and unfiltered opinion and all that. But for the most part, I think the subject matter is what's matured in that group. And I'm sure, like you said, you agree with that. But How many people, if you have to put a percentage, how many people do you see that come in, leave, come in and leave?
Oh man,
Like
you
half of
can
it?
on the. I don't know if you guys run any Facebook groups, but there's a little, growth chart that you can look at, and you'll see after a really bad week of like some horrible comments, it'll like tick down, and then the next week it'll tick right back up. It's like they won't stay away. So yeah, there's some people that have joined and left and joined and left. There's a few that never came back. They're welcome to. Nobody's blocked. There's only a few people that are blocked from our page, and it's all like spam accounts. It's not real people. There's nobody blocked anymore.
Justin Rotten.
Yeah, he got blocked. Like when you cross over into like personally attacking people and like attacking their spouses or kids or with words you say, that's crossed the line. We don't allow that. So.
I had to message his wife. I said,
"Oh yeah, that's the guy who was." But he was wrong in his head or something. I don't know him.
Yeah.
So, but
he's got some problems.
Yeah, he's not.
But if you just if you just want to like make fun of my kayak or call me old or stupid or something, that's fine. You're not going to get banned for that. But going on personally attacking folks, that's a little too far.
Oh yeah, no, he went on a soapbox with.
Remember he went to Lambert. He was on Lambert's personal page threatening him, and Clifton's too.
Wow,
that's crazy.
Well, but you know what? He may turn over a new leaf and come back again another day. Who knows?
Oh, man. Maybe he'll get the help he needs. Who knows?
I hope not. I don't want to talk about it more. I think it's cycles of like on medication, off medication, because he'll be fine for a while on this, just like. Wow.
He go old Kanye. Ye on.
He's got a bunch of burner accounts too. Yeah.
There's probably some of those in our group too. I don't know. I know we got burners. We got a lot of screenshotters that come in there and send pictures to people that they think need to see them. And I'm like, nothing's private. They can do whatever they want. It's okay.
And to be honest, I've seen posts where either you or Ryan or some of your administrators kind of taken down when you see that it's going either from the start or at some point just goes way too south. So, it is policed to a certain degree, but yeah, it is free flowing. Everybody can express their opinion, but
I bet you we deny 75 members a week from even joining the page.
Wow.
Like if you don't have a profile picture and you joined in the last 2 months and you don't have any information, we're not letting you in the page. You know what I mean? Because you may be a burner account, you might be legit. I don't know, but we just don't let every Tom, Dick, and Harry in there, and even some of those, slip through. So,
what do you feel, Jeff, is what you're most proud of as far as the podcast goes and the brand that you've created?
Man, the podcast. I think I've told you this before, and this goes for Dan and anyone else that does podcasts. Is like we're the only mouthpiece. Like we don't have Sports Center for kayak fishing. Nobody gives a shit about kayak fishing outside of us. So, podcast. That we are the news. We're the mouthpiece for kayak fishing. So I'm proud that we've been able to be that voice for a lot of people, give exposure to the sport, give exposure to anglers that might not have got it otherwise, shed a little light on issues that needed to be talked about, things like that. So I'm real proud of being a part of the voice of the sport, if that makes sense.
Yeah, for sure.
Dan, you wanted to add to?
No, I if I were one of y'all two, man, I'd be damn proud because nobody to me, nobody in kayak fishing moves the needle like y'all do. I mean whether it's having your rule show not too long ago, that was and then Chad immediately I'm sure he saw the need for change after the NC, but I'm sure y'all had part of that, but y'all moved the needle on everything. Got to be super proud of that for sure.
Yeah, well, we appreciate that, man. And it was crazy the amount of messages we got from people after that show, talking about the changes that should be made. And then, like I said, KBF and Hoover making those moves the next day seemed to be somewhat correlated. And I don't think it was because of what we said. I bet it was because of the response. Yeah. I mean, there were almost 1,000 comments on that live feed. That was crazy. So seeing the people wanted that so bad, it probably push them a little bit to go ahead and try to make those changes. So I'll be curious to see if Bass and Hobie follow suit, which I'm sure they will. So.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Armand.
No, one thing that I wanted to say, because, sometimes I want to go on a soapbox here, but it bothered me sometimes when the spotlight is on somebody for the wrong reason. And then the first thing is like, well, we need to focus on the positive things. Yeah. it's very convenient when the spotlight is on you for all the wrong reasons. Very convenient for you to say that. I myself had just recently did a podcast about something that we're not going to talk about here, but I was taken back. Like when I posted that, I was super nervous. I couldn't sleep because I don't know what the reaction is going to be, because I was giving my opinion, but at the same time, I was being objective. And I was taken back by all the positive response and how many people reached out to me. And I wanted to touch on that and kind of talk it with you and Ryan. Ryan is running a little bit late, and I'll get his insight when he comes in. But something that I agree with, the fact that we should highlight the positive. You guys do that when somebody wins a tournament. We win. You highlight that. You know what you did, and you congratulate them. Actually, that's Ryan Lambert right there. I'm going to bring him in a second. But Ryan Lambert, we're going to be talking about the KFL championship. I know you're excited about that. We got the MVP here.
No, we weren't.
Go Pelicans. Pelicans for life.
No, but can you hear us, Ryan? I don't think we can hear Ryan.
No.
This is what I hate. This is what chaps me up, Dan. When they're doing their podcast, they have all this fancy equipment.
No. Listen.
When they come here, what do you got? Motel 6. I got a garage.
Look, this is a fancy garage. Look at all this stuff back here.
It is nice. Well organized, too.
Let me tell you something.
I don't see any mics, any trophies.
Let me tell you something, Armando. What's going on with Ryan's audio happens every damn time we do a podcast. So don't think this is unique. This is before every podcast.
Yeah, he's just
I can't hear you,
now.
Ryan.
You're muted, man.
Oh, he's muted. That's why. Hold on. Let me unmute.
Unmute.
I don't know why he's muted.
Can't unmute. The mic isn't connected.
Your mic's not connected, Lambert.
Mic check, man.
You have some editing to do later, Armando.
Oh no, I'll just put up. I'm going to expose you guys here. That's okay. Well, Ryan Lambert, he'll figure it out, but he can. I'll start from what I was saying. So, I hate it when people just kind of say, we should focus on positive things. Yeah, when the spotlight is on you for the wrong reasons. And like I said, you guys had a great feedback on your episode. I had a great feedback on mine. And what I want to go with this, not to talk specifically about that, but the importance of highlighting things that need to be highlighted. Talk about things, clear the air, and kind of weed out the false narrative that sometimes creeps in with there is a situation. There is a time and place for everything. There's a time and place to celebrate somebody that, like I did recently. Drew had won 3 tournaments, including one of the KBF. And I had it's like, dude, that's his story. 3 tournaments in a row. Now, when something is different and it's not related to him or anybody else, but when now we have to talk about an issue that's festering in the kayak fishing community as far as the rule changes. Because a lot of people think like, well, why are we talking about that? If you fish the national trails constantly, you know that what happened lately has been happening. Oops, I removed them. Here we go. Ryan, can you hear us?
Yeah,
there he is.
Oh,
goodness gracious, man!
Is it your first time on a podcast, Ryan? What's
Dude,
going on?
this is my last time staying at the Hilton Garden Inn. I'll tell you that.
So, going back to that, so there is a time and place for everything. Sometimes when you see we what happened recently is something that had been festering in the kayak fishing community and national trails for the last 5 years. It just so happened that it exploded, kind of like the straw that broke the camel's back, and it all of a sudden became public. So it's not that we're focusing on the negative stuff, is that it needs to be addressed, because as the sports grows and it starts tens of thousands of dollars for first place, things need to be cleaned up. As the sports grows, changes have to come with it, because now it's not just a group of guys having fun on the weekend. Now there's real money on the line and things have to be cleared. What are your thoughts on that? I'll start with you, Jeff, while we get Lambert to kind of.
I'm biting my lip on that. I wanted to jump on that because I get really, really, really tired of the sunshine pumping dudes and the comments on stuff. Yeah. When there's a problem, we talk about why our page exists and what it does and things like that. We talk about the hard things to talk about. And there's always a couple of people that slide in there. Why are you talking about this? Focus on the positive. We're growing the community. We're growing the brotherhood, whatever it is. And that's all fine and dandy, but sweeping stuff under the rug doesn't help anything.
Well, we've seen what it got us this
Yeah,
year.
it doesn't help anything. And I get so sick. And it's usually people that have been around like a year. And I'm not knocking new people. I'm just saying, like, they've been here not long enough to know better than to say something like that. You know what I mean? If they realize that, organization X has had the same problems for 8 years, they know why we're saying something about it again. But they're like, hey, you guys are just haters, and we have to push the community and grow the sport. I'm like, no. We're trying to grow the sport by shedding light on this nonsense.
Yeah.
That's my thought on it.
Lambert, what are your thoughts on if you were able to catch most of context of what we're talking about now?
Yeah, I mean, pretty similar to what Jeff said. I mean, I think people spend a lot of time just looking for that silver lining, like not wanting to accept maybe what's happening, or maybe thinking that enforcing the rules or calling somebody, not necessarily calling them a cheater, but convicting them of breaking the rules is somehow a negative, like it's bringing on too much negative light to that organization or that tournament series, or maybe it's a headache that they don't need or they don't want to deal with, or we don't want to tarnish this big tournament, so we're going to let it skate this time. Like, it's that kind of stuff that just lets things build and build and build, and then it's almost accepted. You have guys going out and looking for these loopholes. They know what the weaknesses in the system are, and they're purposefully trying to exploit it. Where are these questionable launches that nobody can really prove if I'm in bounds or not? How far can I get away? Nobody knows if you're portaging over anything or what. I mean, like, I think for a long time, like you said, we've kind of played into this like fairy tale of everybody's doing things by the book, and not everybody, like, you can't trust that folks are following what do they say, the spirit of the rule or whatever. Like, I think a lot of people are looking for that competitive advantage however they can get it.
Yeah, wouldn't you say, Ryan, if we didn't I'm not saying our page in particular, but this, for example, what just happened with Pickwick, if it wasn't talked about in the public square quotes out there on the page, would organizations even be forced to change the rules or take a look at any of it, right?
Well, it's happened. Like, this is the thing about it. Like, people think this is something new. If you fish the national trolls, and I just started the national trolls, but this year a little bit more, more active than years past, and now I realized, there's a lot of things going on here that we in the mainstream, or people in the mainstream, don't know about, but are festering. Like, what happened in Pickwood has happened more than half a dozen times over the last 5 years, and that just happened to be the straw that broke the camel's back. Now it blowed up, and again, we're not picking on anybody or any organization, but the point that I'm trying to make is we can't always be talking about the positives, because that's where we've gotten so far. Like, previously, I've had that same narrative that happened on Pickwick. I've heard it on other tournaments that I've been before, and I've been reluctant to talk about it because it never got any place. It was shut down either at the protest, lack of evidence, blah, blah, blah. So I was like, I'm not going to talk about it. And sometimes I think, what if we would have talked about it more when we needed to? Maybe it wouldn't have gotten to this point. And to be fair, it's not fair to the winners either. Like, right now, everybody should be focusing on an historical 3 Bass Nation trails in a row to lead up to the AOY. That's what we all should be celebrating. The first AOY of Bassmasters. That's awesome. But yet again, we can't talk about that without feeling that we need to talk about other things that need to be fixed, because they're so intertwined. And again, it's not fair for, let's say, in this case, to Gregory either. Like, he should be basking in the sunshine or glow of what he did, which is an amazing feat. And to his defense, that's also, more than anything, in my opinion, is the way that has been swept under the rugs for years. At the start of the season, Ryan, you said it, Jeff, you said, I've said it on my podcast. The thing that Bass Nation, Bassmasters lacks, the kayak series, is a seasoned tournament angler to run that trail.
Yeah, for sure.
It's no coincidence that this is the event that kind of like fumbled the ball at the 1 yard line at the end of the season, with an AOY title on the line, an historical win on the line, and you fumbled the ball. Why? Because it's been a revolving door of tournament directors, and none of them are actually tournament anglers.
I'll tell you, I got two parts to that, in my opinion. I think Drew, knowing how important this tournament was, he probably should have done his homework on where he was fishing. Like, you shouldn't have figured out you were legal 2 weeks later when someone protested. You should have figured out you were legal before the tournament ever started. Like, discussing with him on our podcast, he had no idea if his water was cut off, because in the way he processed the rules, he thought that it didn't matter if there was an obstruction or whatever. Like, that wasn't occurring to him that in bass rules, you have to be able to access the main lake freely. So I think he should have done a little more homework. Again, it kind of hurt my feelings a little bit, because I was hyped up on the bass train thinking, they're going to turn things around. This is going to be different. And they completely dropped the ball on this investigation, because they did not do an investigation. There was no investigation. They let Drew tell his story in front of a panel of 3 people that have no idea what they're talking about or where they're at or anything. And the only person that protested that they called out of the 10 or so protesters had never even seen the creek. It's not one of the people that went up there and examined anything. He had never seen the water. And they call him in to do what? I mean, just be there? Like, that kind of pissed me off a lot. I felt like they didn't investigate anything at all.
And we were talking about it pre-recording. It was just set up for that way, and not to take anything away. Like, again, I've moved on from what Drew did. Like, if I was Drew Gregory, for example, or whoever, let's take the name Drew Gregory out of it, because I don't want people to think we're picking on him. He is the rightful winner. He won. It's been declared. That's fine. We should be celebrating his historic win. Whether it's Drew or anybody, if I've been able for the last 5 years to take advantage of this, whatever you want to call it, loophole, great area, and I've been cleared every time, why would I stop doing it? Like, to Drew's point and to Drew's defense, I wouldn't stop doing it. Why? Because 7 or 8 times that I've been contested or protested about, I've won each and every single protest. So why would I ever have to change, right? So that goes back to the having a tournament director, that conversation of saying, okay, listen, first time this happens, we get it. It might have been a gray area. Let's own up as a tournament director and realize that we might need to clear up. Moving forward from now on, we would like you and everybody else to do this. And that's the problem is that shouldn't have taken more than one protest to do.
Yeah, the rules need to be, and we beat this to death, but the rules need to be black and white. If you fish here, you're disqualified. Period. Not, well, let me look at it. Maybe if you fish here, you're disqualified. There needs to be some sort of boundary. Whatever the rules are, there needs to be a hard edge to the rule, not a subjective, let me look at it, let's get a panel. No, if you do this, you're DQ'd, or you do this, you've broken the rule.
Dan, you want to Sorry. I'm sorry, Jeff. I apologize. I interrupted, Jeff. You want to go on?
No, that's it. That's all I'm saying, is that's where we got to get to. Because we're not going to go backwards. I mean,
no. And again,
what's happened has happened. We just got to fix it going forwards.
I'm 6-eyed with the new TD for bass going to do, like, I'm I'm fully behind that guy, and I hope it.
Can we say who that guy is? Is it official?
No, okay. And it's not even bass. I mean, Hobie needs to make changes. KBF said they're making changes. All American Series probably will adapt some of this.
A very similar set of rules for Bass and Hobie.
Yeah,
the two people running that work together a lot on a lot of things, and I think you're going to see a very consistent, easy to follow rule set from both of those organizations, which I think that, again, is something that's been a long time coming. I think they needed to get on the same page with that for a long time as well. But, I mean, to me, this whole scenario that we just saw, whenever someone gets caught doing something and then all the rules change because of it, whether that was an infraction or not that happened, just like board bending with hog troughs. What happened? Was that a rule infraction? Was that anything wrong that someone got disqualified for? No. Did it change the entire face of kayak fishing? Yes. So that kind of stuff is what we kind of preach about, like, as people in the public eye. Like, you got to think about this kind of stuff, because that gets you an asterisk. Like, you get an asterisk forever doing that kind of stuff. So you have to be self-aware not to put yourself in that position.
Did we not have metal boards when the guy cut the boards? Is that why we didn't go to metal boards then?
I don't think Catch.
We didn't have them then. Yeah,
I think Duke started making metal boards because of that. Honestly.
Yeah, we did. All we had was the golden rule then, so there was no choice. But yeah,
right. Yeah.
As Duke, I mean, I've never been a fan of just having one company produce one product that we all going to need because that's monopolizing. But again, Duke has made, great product with no rivalry, and that's great for Duke. Like, I mean, for me, I wish there was more companies that did that, kind of lowers the price, hopefully. But regardless, all props to Duke. Because if it wasn't for him, we would still have that problem. We might still have that problem.
We'd all be using fish sticks.
Yeah.
No, we wouldn't.
So, I mean, it's not Duke's fault. Definitely not Duke's fault that he's the only one that's providing a superior product. But yeah, and I think that's what's important. That moving forward, there's changes for the best for all three national trails. All-American Bass Kayak Series is coming up as another trail. We wish them the best as well. So hopefully, they get a chance to be kind of like a little bit further back and learn from the other ones and make sure they don't follow those mistakes. But I think that's important. And I think, again, that's what we want. We don't want any angler who won an AOY, who won 3 tournaments in a row, to have an asterisk. Because it's not good for anyone. It's not good for the growth of the sport. It's not good for the perspective, especially like the timing was the worst. You had the walleye cheaters. You had that whole thing in Bassmaster and the boat side of somebody just kind of similar situation. So it's like, damn, it's like it is like the perfect storm for that part. So. Getting out of that soapbox and focusing now on the brand, I was asking Jeff Malott, and Ryan, I'll ask you the same thing. What are you most proud of when you look at what you've accomplished with the brand of KBN?
Not getting canceled. That's,
it's
got to be top of the list. No, I mean it's cool to to kind of where we started and how we started, like. Kind of being exiled from this whole deal to now building a platform that gives everybody, positive or negative, a place to go say what they want to say. Yep. But then the podcast, we've tried to differentiate from that and make it more like a news outlet type deal, where we're promoting anglers and their achievements and the tournament series and whatnot. And we joke around and bullshit and whatever, but just like the Pelicans winning the KFL, I mean, it's
Coosa Kingfishers, sir.
It is the Pelicans.
Kingfishers.
But that stuff is cool to watch, and it's cool to have that platform to talk about these things and bring attention to stuff that guys might miss. Like if you're regional and you only fish one tournament series or one trail or whatever, you may not know who some of these guys are that we bring on. Period. Yeah. So. I mean, it's really been cool to be able to spread that. There it is.
There's the MVP trophy. Well, now you're blocking it. You have to.
Well, I'm a big.
Yeah, you're good.
You put a Pelican sticker on there for me. Come on.
No, we're getting a plaque. They took off the plaque of the Maulers, and
since we don't have the TOC championship.
Is that a traveling trophy? You don't get to keep it?
No, you don't get to keep the damn thing.
What?
Yeah, it's
like that Stanley Cup.
Yeah, it's like a
Stanley Cup.
Shitty Stanley Cup.
Now, Dan, I have to put you on the spot. You won a major trail in the KFL. You won the MVP.
It's a major award.
When are you going to be in KBN? Like to talk about? Like you have to be in KBN, right?
Talking about KFL. That once was enough.
Ooh, but now we got to talk about your win, right? Like
we're disbanded. I'm out now.
The question everybody wants to know, Ryan.
Yeah,
Jeff.
so we heard that the other day. The Pelicans are done.
Yeah, we're done, man.
Just took that money and ran, huh?
I'm tired of running that shit.
I don't blame you. Sounds like a mess.
It takes a lot of effort, man. I got the same check as everybody else. Well, based on participation, everybody saw that. But
hey, you should have Jerry Jones that shit and took the majority if you're the owner.
Yeah,
yeah, well,
owner's bonus.
Yeah, my own cut. I didn't do it.
So is Dan Perry going to be on the KBN too? That's what I want.
No,
Hey, we got a long off season. He probably will be.
You can bring him on Monday, Armando. I'll be on a plane. I'll be on a plane Monday. You can guest host Armando and interview.
Wait a minute. You're gonna be off Monday?
I'm be on a plane, an airplane.
Where are you going?
Houston, Texas.
Oh, sorry.
Nice. Oh, you're gonna be here in Texas. Cool.
Damn,
Yeah,
you're
buddy.
gonna have me scrambling. Damn it.
Sorry, dude. I just found out like an hour ago
Okay.
as I was scrambling to get here to do this.
When is I'm embarrassed to ask, when is the TOC in Caddo? Is that
Don't ask any of us because we don't know.
No, it's next weekend.
Yeah.
It's coming up.
next weekend, right?
It's coming
Yeah.
up. Yeah.
Everybody's heading down to pre-fish now.
Cool. You excited? Oh, wait a minute. That's right, Lambert. I thought for
Well, I'm saying,
I thought you were
nobody
there
knows
this year.
Armando.
That's right. I forgot.
Yeah, I don't get like I wish that's what I told AJ. I wish my free entry was like usable on a year that I didn't qualify because I qualified like 3 times over last year.
They should roll it over, right?
And didn't need the freebie, so that kind of sucks.
So Ryan, when you look at, you've obviously accomplished, and I know it's not a competition between yourselves, but you've obviously accomplished a little bit more with the TOC. So this question might be a little bit harder for you than it is going to be to Jeff. But what are you most proud of? What you've accomplished on the KBN, or what do you accomplish on the trails yourself?
I mean, I like the competitive fishing part, honestly, but I like the KBN part a lot more. You know, I think we've been able to shape the direction of things a lot more from the podcast side. You know, being kind of a voice to bring attention because.
No.
I mean, we talk about the rule thing that we just, brought to light here and really harped on, but think about all the cheaters and stuff that we've kind of forced people to take action on, or the people that hadn't been paid in months and months and months that miraculously get paid after things get brought to light. I mean, I think
And
I like
save
that part of it.
JT.
Yeah, and the
Hey.
JT part is huge. Yeah, not
That's
even really
awesome.
sport. That part is huge. I think that having that ability to impact a lot more to me is worth more than winning whatever tournament.
Yeah.
I know for a fact Brian Howell got paid thanks to the KBN group chat.
Yeah, for sure.
What about you, Jeff? What have you as far as your accomplishments on the water and your accomplishments on KBN, what are you more proud of?
Yeah, man. I think, it's always what have you done for me lately, I guess. And obviously I've been on a dry spell with tournament success lately, it seems like the last few years, but I've still had a lot of fun going to tournaments, but I couldn't be more proud of what we've built with the podcast and the group. And like I said at the beginning of the show, the whole thing is really kind of by accident to begin with. But once we kind of figured out what we had, Ryan and I have kind of shaped it and navigated this thing and kept it true to itself this whole time. So yeah, I mean, I've been kayak fishing for a long time. I posted some old pictures today on the page.
Yeah,
saw that picture. I've been kayak fishing a long time. I've won local AOYs. I've cast checks, at the original TOC. I've cast checks at the national championship, won KBF trail event, things like that. I've done some stuff out there, but it's been a few years. But if you're talking about overall what I'm more proud of, I like building and growing things. So, doing what we've done with the group and the podcast has been very, very cool to see because I did that locally. I did a, tournament group here like Ryan did in Tennessee. He helped grow a tournament group there. I started our group here, started our state championship. So to see things grow and build always, I think, feels a little better than just individual tournament accomplishments.
That's very good. Dan, I'll ask you the same thing because you're a podcast host. You've done the final cast, but you're also an MVP for KFL and the national championship. So what are you most proud of? What you done on the water or what you done with the podcast?
I like them all. I mean, they're all, I help run my trail and won some tournaments. That's great. And, I don't know. I like them all. I do really enjoy the little part that I have in kayak fishing and how I try to help do positive things with it or help it grow or have, help people get into kayaks or whatever it is. I probably enjoy that as much, if not more than the tournament fishing.
I'll tell you this, man, running tournaments is work, or running a group or running stuff is work.
Yeah.
And doing what Ryan and I do, like doing the podcast to me anyway, is so much fun. And even the group page with some of the knuckleheads we have, it's fun. If it wasn't fun, I don't think either one of us would mess with it because we got real jobs, but we have a lot of fun with it. So, I could be proud of that.
Now let me ask you all three, and I'll start with you, Ryan. If you had a choice, like you will make the same amount in sponsorships doing the podcast, or the same amount winning national trails. So money's not a factor. Either one you do is going to give you the same amount of money. Which one would you rather do?
The podcast.
What about you, Jeff?
Same, because I've never fished a tournament for money.
That's
anyway. You know what I mean? I always joke and say if I win money, I'll give it to my wife, and I always have. She'll, buy a new recliner with it or something. But it's for the competition. I think tournaments are for the competition, not the money.
Yeah. What about you, Dan?
I'm gonna go the other way. The national trail. I haven't won a TOC or a national trail, so yeah. I mean, I feel like I'm really next year. I'm really going to chase it, and I don't care about the money. I want to win. Like I want to be able to go out there and prove myself. And I feel like on a national level, I haven't done that, and I'm, so that's what I want the most. Yeah.
Well, and
we
I
don't
agree
make anything from the podcast, so
yeah, no, and I agree with you on that, Dan. We're a poor man's version of KBN, both in the podcast and on our success on the trail. Like we haven't won much, and our podcast is not as big, so it's a lot simpler question for us.
I'll tell you though, I think like after winning the TOC and then turning around and winning Watts Bar, like I got a lot more pressure put on me from people, going down the line on that stuff, like every tournament. Why aren't you catching them, Lambert? Why aren't you catching? Like, shit, I don't know. I mean, I have no freaking idea. Like, I've got enough pressure trying to figure these damn fish out. And then you've got 30 people in your DMs all day long. Like, are you sandbagging? Are you sandbagging? You got another one? Like, when I was out there at Dardanelle, Dylan was on my ass. Like, you got another fish? You got another fish? I'm like, dude, I'm literally fishing for my TOC spot. Like, shut the hell up. Like, please stop texting me. Shut up. Like, I can't deal with it. So that's why I picked the podcast, because it's just fun. There's no pressure. It's a lot less stressful, I guess.
And I'm glad you put, because that was going to be my follow-up question for you, Ryan. Like, did anything change once you won the TOC? Because like you mentioned, you had a great year. You won the TOC. But yeah, like you just answered, it did change something. I mean, and to be honest with you, like I'm in awe at, like, for example, what Cody Milton and Russ Snyder do. Like Cody Milton, like he's been killing it for what, the last 3 years? Like you see Christine Fisher as well. We kind of seen her progression go each year. She gets higher and higher on rankings. Guillermo Gonzalez as well. I'm like, man, I may be able to do like any given Sunday kind of thing when I win a tournament. But to be like that consistently landing and getting AOYs and all that, that is, I mean, I've mad props to anybody, like those guys and girls that have been doing
when you
that,
take somebody that's that skilled and they have that much time to prepare and be on the water, it's hard to beat. I mean, in any sport and anything, if you put them in a bass boat, the same way, like it is hard, it's super hard for a person to come in. And I'm not saying it doesn't happen, because we've seen it happen. People come in on Fridays and, I drove by this creek going to check in, decided I was going to fish there and win the tournament. Yeah, we've seen that happen. But that person is not in the top 5, in 80% of the tournaments that they fish.
Yeah.
Like the consistency that those anglers you just mentioned put forth, I mean, that's hard to contend with when you have someone that's that good and gets to practice that much.
Yeah, and I think we were talking about rules earlier. I think off limits periods and boundaries on water is going to bring in some more parity. You won't see quite the domination, but you're still going to see those same names up there. It's not like they're just winning because of that.
They're not going to go away, but they're not.
They're not.
I'm
not making an excuse, but I'm saying I don't think you'll see Drew win 3 events in a row.
Yeah,
there's a hard boundary.
I mean, and no disrespect.
And I'm not knocking Drew. I'm just saying that's just the facts.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
That was going to be my question, is if you think the playing field's going to be a little bit more even. And I guess with the rules like that, it's going to take away from the people that are able to travel as much. But yeah, I mean, those people are still going to be up there.
I mean, still that Jordan Marshall rolls in on a Friday with a dirty kayak and sleeps 2 hours and wins a tournament. So I mean, you got those people too. So it's not going to do a whole lot for folks like that.
He came out Saturday and caught him, just hadn't been out there, came from a concert, slept in his truck 3 hours, and still comes out.
Dan, he won Angler of the Year in the TVKA trail doing that. Sleeping 2 hours, driving 2 hours from Knoxville to fish our events and won AOY. And I mean, our trail is like, Brad and Terry Golden, the Campbells, like that was not a small feat. He did that shit like I said, I mean, sleeping 2 hours, driving 2 hours, coming down there and just dominating. Like he's fishy. Marshall's just a fishy dude. He bumps into the big ones when he needs to.
It'll hurt your feelings too, because like this, not necessarily this weekend, but for somebody, I don't know. Like I put in so much time and effort into it. Like I wonder how. Maybe the only reason I don't like that is because I feel like I'm obviously not talking bad about Jordan, but how good and how dominant could he be if he put in all the effort, like as much effort as what a lot of other people do, and doesn't just show up? Man, how dominant could he be?
I think that goes against his style of fishing.
Yeah, I was about to say,
like his game plan going in is not like what mine and yours might be. Like Jordan Marshall does not look for a spot. Jordan Marshall looks for 12 spots in a 15-mile stretch and tries to hit as many of them as he can. Like that's how, I mean, for him to pre-fish would be for him to blow out all of his spots. Like that's just, he operates differently. I mean, he really does. He has a complete, and sometimes it bites him, right? Sometimes it's a super specific, slow, finessey bite, which he's gotten better about. But like in Sweden, he had never used a fish finder. So we're out there trying to catch those perch suspended, in 160 feet of water. And he's trying to learn to use a fish finder for his first time ever in his life. Like, I mean, that really kind of opens your eyes to how different people's styles can be successful, for the most part. I mean, if you look at it, 8 times out of 10, he's probably cashing a check.
Yeah. I'll tell you this, what I think is going to happen is with the rule changes, if they happen, like I think they're going to happen with the boundaries and off limits, whatever, is Cody, Christine, whoever it is, your usual suspects that are winning tournaments. When they do win tournaments, because they still will win tournaments, they'll be able to puff their chest out a little more. Yeah. Because I know they hear chirping back there like, oh yeah, well, I think I won because I was here for 3 weeks or whatever. Yeah. Now they'll be able to just puff that chest out even more. Be like, hey, we were here for 3 days. And we all fished from these ramps, and guess what? I still whooped your ass. So it'll be a little bit more of a accomplishment and almost.
I think that's part of it. I think that's part of the sport itself. Because there's maybe 15 anglers, maybe that get to travel and spend that kind of time on the water. Everybody else, the other 175 in some cases, are just 185 are just showing up on Thursday or on Friday or whatever. I think those people are going to feel mentally less at a disadvantage going into it. And, I mean, everybody knows fishing a lot of that is mental game. Like if you go into it and you're already feeling like you're at a disadvantage, that's not going to help your performance on the water. Right. So I think from a optics standpoint, that's going to be a big booster overall for the field.
Yeah, you and I already heard, Ryan, there's people showing up to tournaments this year like, I got to get there early because I got to get a chainsaw and cut my way back into this creek because I know everybody else is doing it, so I got to do it. If we can get rid of all that, that'll be great. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And we saw some crazy shit this year. I'll say that.
Yeah. And that's the thing, going back to what we're saying, sometimes we need to talk about it. Yeah, it's great to focus on positive, but sometimes things need to be addressed in order for not to boil over at the worst time, like it just happened this year. Going back to the Jordan Marshall, and I think that's a great point. A lot of people, you give them more time, they have more stuff on their head and more distractions, and it's even like it's counterproductive. A lot of people are like, I don't need a lot of information, I just need to focus. If you give me too much information, then I lose focus and I start questioning what I want to do, and then kind of throws them off. But to your point also, Jeff, I think the big names, I think, somebody like I could see somebody, not to take away anything from Drew's greatness because he's a great angler, but I can see him getting more affected by those rules than most people. as far as big names, because that's very, his style of fishing is very different from a lot of people, and rule changes can really affect him. And really, when you look at it, he really wants to campaign for those rules not to take in effect. And if I was in a situation, I would be campaigning for the same thing. This is where I'm strong at. I don't want this to be taken away from me. But there is still, he's still going to win some tournaments. Christine Fisher is still going to do great. What I think it's important is we get this mixture of other people coming in, because we're not a spectator sport. Like we, in the sport of like football or, basketball, you have your team and you have your players that you are in awe and you root for them and you want to see them. And, we stayed in awe with this players, professionals that just fight longevity and constantly keep winning. But this is not a spectator sport. This is not run by television, by promotions, by commercials. This is run by the money that's given out by the anglers. So if the anglers see the same people winning over and over, there's going to be to a point where it's like, I'm just donating money here. What am I doing this for? And I think that on our sport, because it's driven by the money that we as anglers provide when we sign up for them, if people are feeling like they don't have a shot to compete against these top anglers, who, by the way, now have 2 weeks to prepare for a tournament and be at a lake because that's their living, they can go up a creek 20 miles away because they can prepare for this. They're going to be like, well, I'm not doing this. I'm not here to donate money. If I don't feel like I even have a shot at it. Like I looked at the National Trail and at Jeff Little's, and by the way, Jeff Little has been pumping up some original YouTube content, just kind of following what Cody Milton and Russ Snyder did to win the National Trails. They did nothing wrong, but at the same time, if I'm a competitor, I'm like, I have to go up against probably the top two anglers in this sport who are fishing together in a body of water that it's not even close. Like, I have no shot. Why am I paying $400 for this?
Not when they've been there for 3 weeks. I
Exactly.
think that was a lot of people's deal.
It's like,
and they admitted, like, you can see the write-ups, like they were very honest and forthcoming with the fact that they had been breaking down extremely remote waters for weeks ahead of the tournament. Like, that was my thing, when Chad's podcast came out the day after ours, like, oh, I'm going to make some changes now. Like, you just watched somebody walk away with 50 grand knowing that this was happening, knowing that that you allowed 284 miles of the Duck River to be in play, and then you're going to act like it's a problem 3 days later. Like, come on, dude. Like, that stuff, like, I mean, that's like me driving my car off this parking garage and be like, oh shit, I missed the ramp. Like, I mean, yeah, you did. I just drove it off the side of the parking garage. Like, that's not a surprise. You knew that was going to happen. Come on.
Yeah, and if we're ever going to talk about professional kayak angling, and I don't know that we ever will, if we even need it to be that way, but I mean, there's going to be hard off limits and hard information rules and hard bound. I mean, that's how it's going to be. So if we're going to take the next step towards that, then that's what we're going to do. If you saw the podcast when we had Jay on talking about the rules, he said there's a huge difference between the essence of kayak fishing and kayak tournament fishing.
Oh, for
People
sure.
are like, oh, it's the essence of fishing. We should be able to drag up in a 1-inch shallow water creek. Well, maybe if you're just fishing, but if we're talking tournament fishing, you got to separate those a little bit.
One thing that I took about what you said, Ryan Lambert, is that you actually listened to the Chad Hoover podcast. That's a nice confession there.
That's actually false, but I did get a
you
good
did
summary
say you listened.
No. I got a good summary in our group chat.
Okay.
From the podcast.
Ryan is banned from everything.
I do not have access.
I am not.
I did not have access to listen to the podcast.
Yeah, I'm banned from all their groups.
I just want to believe.
They didn't ban me from their page yet, so I can still hear some of that stuff.
I just want to believe in my mind that you were there, watching with your popcorn and
you think I was there? I was there in the trailer under the table
in your underwear, just
yeah. I don't get invited to that anymore, man.
But all jokes aside, what do you think is the most important rule change that needs to be addressed?
I would say something around the launching or or boundaries, however these series decide to phrase it, what happened on Pickwick doesn't need to happen again.
Nope.
However, you need to, and here's my thing. If you do boundaries, right? If you just say, here's your boundaries, any public access, you still have that huge question mark of, is it public access, or did somebody park their truck on public access and get dropped off 10 miles up here off the side of a road that's not public access? There's nowhere to park. There's no launch. There's still this huge gray area, right? To me, I think that the access portion is the biggest thing that we need to address over anything else.
Jeff, what about you?
Yeah, I'm kind of torn 50-50 between off limits periods and access rules. I think access is probably the most important, but off limits kind of take care of some, because if you only give people 2 or 3 days, they can't scout for 3 weeks and find 100-mile remote accesses either.
But not unless you have the metadata from tournaments you've run before.
Well, that's true.
Or if you don't check. If you had to check 26 miles up a creek, then you've just wasted 2 days of pre-fishing just to check that flow. And honestly, I would be okay with that part. At least if you checked it. Like the fact that you don't even give a shit, like that's what has to be looked at to me.
Yeah, when we had Drew on after he won, before all the protests happened, he asked me, like, what do you mean level the playing field? What do you mean level the playing field? And that's what I mean by what I meant by that then, and what I mean by it now is, I think you guys already said it, is the optics for all the anglers signing up. Am I fishing the same water? Am I fishing the same ecosystem? Am I fishing the same amount of days? That's a level playing field to me. Everything else, it's different boats, different rods, reels, lures. You can't levelize that.
Yeah.
But are you on the same body of water, fishing the same environment for the same amount of time? And now let's see who the best is.
Yeah. Dan, what about in KFL? Like, any rules in KFL you like them to see update? Or in tournaments, either way.
He's like, I'm out, bro. I
just stick to the rules, whatever the rules are.
I was gonna say, do they have a set rule, or is it just kind of whatever day of the week it is? They make that rule up.
Yeah, next year the people who were running it could have been better, obviously. But next year, I know like Corey Dreyer and some other guys. There's going to be a committee, and the rules are going to be much better than what they are this year. So there's definitely some positive changes coming there. I won't.
It's going to be on Lotion Sports.
Whoa.
Yes, that's a yes.
Yeah, sure.
All right.
Now flowing on Lotion Sports.
Oh, buddy.
All those rules are important, though. It's hard to pick one. Communications, I think it's like it's an individual sport, and people shouldn't be communicating on the water either. That's
100%. Yeah.
So
what is again? Jeff made that poll on KBN.
Yeah.
To me, I think all four of the top four things. I think all of those are pretty equally. They need to be addressed. Are they equally as important, or do they affect as much? No, but do they all need to be addressed? 100%. Yes.
Yeah.
What somebody else said. Sorry, Dan.
No, you're good.
Attach a consequence to whatever the new rules are, or the old rules, even if it's an old rule. Instead of, okay, this happened, now what do we do? Like, have a consequence in line for that.
Yeah.
I used to work for American Airlines, and one of the things they always taught you is like, listen, if you screw up, because when you're working with boarding passengers, either cargo passengers, if there is and it happens, it has happened to me where somebody gets some boarding pass mixed up, and we got that on the flight data shows a person that got on board, and that person is still at the counter, but somehow the boarding pass got switched. That's a $10,000 fine. They always tell you, the union always tells you, they call you to the office. They can't fire you for that mistake, even if it's your mistake. But what they can fire you, and what they're gonna try to fire you, is if you lie. And I think that has to be addressed. Like, anglers should be says, like, listen, if you broke the rules, that's one thing. Now, if you're cheating, like if you're lying to us, then I don't care who you are. You need to get disqualified, because now it becomes the same thing with working with corporate company. It's not that you broke the rules, it's that we don't trust you. We can't trust in what you say. So therefore, we don't want you. And I think that's big.
There's a huge
I wouldn't want to
difference,
see. I wouldn't want to see somebody get banned for a mistake, for an honest mistake they did. But if somebody makes a mistake and lies about it and tries to hide it, then at that point, I think it's like, one thing is to get disqualified, your fish disqualified for the tournament. You lose the tournament, you lose your tournament entry, your entry fees, fine. But now, if you're lying about it, or if you're purposely cheating, you should be disqualified. There has to be a difference in the punishment there.
Yeah, there's a huge difference. People kind of mix it, like breaking a rule and cheating are two different things.
It's two different
things.
Let me ask you this. I personally would like to see designated launches. Doesn't have to be a public launch. And a lot of people, when I've talked to people, a lot of say, well, the boat ramps are going to be cramped. I'm like, 90% of the anglers use the boat ramps. Like, there's only this handful of people that are doing what Drew does, that it's just up a creek, isolated. That's like, out of 200 anglers, 5 or 6 are going to do that. Adding them to the boat ramp is not going to crowd it that much. And people that have light kayaks to go up and launch up a creek can still launch at the boat ramp without actually having to use the ramp itself. They can just launch in the, the grass or the park area where the boat ramp is. So everybody that says, no, it's going to be crowded. First of all, if it's crowded, just get there earlier. And second of all, it's not going to be that crowded. We're only at the most 200 anglers.
It might not be on day one, but on day two, whenever a few leaders are in the same area and everybody else shows up, they'd be full up.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you what, I have the opposite experience on Darnell. Like, my first day, I put up 89 inches, something like that. And
you
then
smashed them.
Next day there was nobody at the boat ramp. I got there like an hour and 30 minutes earlier, thinking it's gonna be packed. I was sitting on my kayak for an hour and 30 minutes, and the 360 light is shining at the woods, and I see little eyes at the woods. I'm like, shit, I don't want to be. Can somebody else come in? Like, at first I'm like, yeah, I have the boat ramp to myself. Then I was like, no, I see too many eyes in the woods there.
They were sniffing out your catalytic converters, Armando.
That was the local Arkansas folk out there.
Well, I'll tell you what, I have a Honda Ridgeline, so if nobody wants that.
A good one.
Nobody wants that catalytic converter. I can park it everywhere. Nobody cares about that. There's only like 5 pickups like that. What do you think about designated boat launches? Are you in favor of it, or do you just want boat boundaries to be set as far as how far you go up the fishing?
I'm designated launches myself.
What about you, Jeff?
I wouldn't mind it as long as it doesn't go, like I said, back when Cody was running the TOC, they tried that and they only designated like 5. So as long as they put in the legwork to have enough launches, I'm all about designated launches. And I think that if you put out your schedule ahead of time, like, if they launch their schedule next month, if Bass launches their schedule here in the next month, and they have 4 months to publish the event information about where you can launch, or 3 months or whatever, that's plenty of time to do the legwork and find plenty of launches to accommodate everybody, I think.
Well, guys, I've had you for an hour, and I know, Ryan, you've been traveling. Jeff, it's late for you.
Bushy-tailed. I feel like I just got in here.
Well, and I do want to compliment you on your 1970s West Texas look. It reminds me of one of my favorite movies, No Country for Old Men. I think you got that look going for you.
This hat's from Amarillo. This is Cadillac Creek Outfitters. It's from
Amarillo. And the shirt is like in the 70s motel in the background.
This old Wrangler shirt, baby.
Where are you at right now?
Knoxville. I got a VA presentation in the morning.
Oh.
What do you do for a living, Rambert? I know you mentioned it on a post the other day.
KBN podcast. That's it. No, I do. I sell medical equipment like cath labs, neuro labs, big X-ray equipment.
Oh yeah, that's what I saw.
And then we just started, like, what you saw was like holographic augmented reality headsets that integrate like CT and ultrasound into this holographic headset. There's not anything else like it on the market. I'm looking forward to retiring off selling this product. So
there you go. How long do you think you're going to retire and fish full time?
Never. I don't ever want to have to fish full time. To be honest with you, I fished probably 24 tournaments this year, and it was miserable. Like, no downtime, and doing my real job through the week. Like that, no downtime. I did way too much. I'm not doing that next year.
And you didn't even make it to the TLC.
I know, right?
Ouch.
Why are you going to just rub that in at the end?
I fished 7 out of 9. 7 out of 9 events. That's the most I've ever fished, and this is the furthest I've ever been away from the TOC. So,
Hey, I do believe that Ryan and I both qualified for the Bassmaster Series Championship Classic, or whatever they call it now.
There you go.
Let's like the. I'm not even going to go there.
I don't know why the Californians keep calling it the Kayak Classic, and it is not. So if you're from California and hearing this, stop saying that.
It's
because
they don't know any better out there.
Yeah.
They're trying to hype it up so people come fish that trail where they get dog cussed and spit on and everything else.
Tell us how you really feel about it, Ryan.
Well, Tim knows. Tim knows. I tell him to.
Ryan, what are you looking? What do you want to accomplish next season, both in the KBN and in your tournament schedule?
KBN, we're looking to obviously, like, we've had great steady growth. I mean, Jeff just pulled our numbers 2 days ago to send out to some sponsors that we've been in contact with. We're just looking to expand the platform, continue to grow, bring on some new kind of strategic partnerships that are in different realms than what we've already got established. I mean, what I think we need to do is a lot more merchandise. Like, we need to do a lot more merchandise output. I feel like we're missing a huge opportunity there. People are always asking us for hats and stickers, and we don't do a great job of that, and I know it. I would like to do another big charity event next year. I think that's definitely on the docket. And tournament-wise, I want to fish. I'll see what the bass schedule looks like. I've heard some rumors of the Hobie schedule, and I think the Hobie schedule is probably going to be the best, most complete schedule that we've ever seen in kayak fishing. So, as I just complained about fishing too many tournaments this year, I'm probably going to fish too many tournaments next year too.
Do you would you be turned off, or would you consider not fishing any of those two trails if there's no rule changes?
No. I mean, honestly, knowing kind of what Bass has in its cards right now and where it's going, I want to see it be successful. I think we need 2 big successful trails. I think for what Hobie has done for us, the platform that it's given us, these great tournaments, these great opportunities. Honestly, if AJ didn't change one rule, I would still fish Hobie because it's been that huge for us as a sport. Like, I would never turn my back on them for something like that. I mean, if you knowingly let people cheat or show favoritism or something, then I've got a problem. If you don't pay people, I've got a problem. If you lie to municipalities and burn their ass on money, I've got a problem.
Shots fired.
If you run a responsible business and you're a trustworthy human, then I'll continue to fish your trail. So let that speak to any trails that I don't fish.
One more question now that you touched on it, Jeff, and I'll ask you the same question as well. What does Bass Nation or Bassmasters has to prove to you, if anything, for you to trust them again? Like, I'm gonna say it if you don't want to say it. Bassmasters has lost trust. A lot of people. Their trail has gone down every year, and this is a trail that when it came out, I remember listening to KBN. I remember listening to Dan Perry on the Reel Down before I even started doing my podcast, and people were everyone that you interviewed, Dan, and everyone that you guys interviewed on KBN said the same thing. They were looking forward to being on that top 10 at the final. They didn't care if they won it. Of course they wanted it, but they wanted, that was their childhood dream. There is no excuse as to why Bassmaster is not the biggest and most premier kayak fishing trail. There's really none other than their own failures. Do they have to do anything to you to prove to you that they're worthy of your money?
Yes. I want to see a good schedule. I want to see the tournaments ran professionally. And they did do, from what I understand, I only fished the Pickwick event because I was in protest of bass, honestly. The first year, it was like KBF 2016. Like, you were at a pavilion with a poster board stapled to a tree, like, welcome to the Bassmaster event. Like,
that was Lake Fork.
Come on. Come on. Like, you can do so much better. And this year they had venues, they had actual venues for their tournaments, which is great. But promotions, marketing, they fell flat on their face. So what I want to see out of Bass for next year, I want to see a good schedule. I want to see events ran well, but I want to see them take the responsibility to push these tournaments, to market them, to make them grow, to make it seem like a big deal, and provide media coverage. And they do a great job on their website, but I don't ever go to any website. Like, there's not a website that I go to unless I literally have to. That's what I pointed out to them when we had that dinner that Jeff and I were at. Everything's ran on social media now. If you're not promoting it on your social media channels, then no one knows that it exists. So, welcome to 2022. Hopefully they, take that note down. But I think, to me, those are the things that they have to do. And no matter how I feel about who's running it or, what they're trying to do, if it doesn't get done, then it doesn't get done. And I'm not going to sit and break my back, just to help it try to be successful. I need Bass as a corporation to invest and do something.
I really hope they give the new tournament director the power to make the changes necessary too,
And the rules.
Bass does what it's like. We've been doing this for so long, we know what we're doing. Well, that obviously isn't working.
It's the redheaded stepchild of Bassmasters. What it is.
Let's
go to you, Jeff. Same question regarding that.
Yeah. Yes, they have some ground to make up, but Ryan already mentioned it. We were fortunate enough to get invited to a little small dinner at the Pickwick event before the event started to talk with Chris Bowes and some of the other folks from Bass and the new leader for Bass. And they said all the right things that night. So just like, and I believed what they were saying. They seemed authentic, and they were, they basically said, look, we are good at running basketball tournaments. We're not good at running kayak tournaments. We want to listen to y'all, and we want to take your ideas, and that's what we want to do. So that they said all the right things, but just like, it's election time this week, politicians say a lot of right things and they never do it. They never follow up. So as long as they follow up on what they said, and like Dan said, if they give the new leader the leeway to operate things, then I think they're going to be just fine. But it's still kind of wait and see mode. And of course, Old Town's backing them. So I got a little vested interest there. I hope, they get their bang for their buck for what they're doing. But it's still kind of wait and see. I'm optimistic. I think they're going to do okay. And I hope that they do.
And as far as what you want to accomplish with the podcast, and for the podcast first, and then as far as your tournament career, if you want to call it that.
Ryan kind of laid it all out there, man. I just want to see the podcast continue to grow. We're kind of learning, what content works and what doesn't, but just kind of keep pushing the envelope there with the podcast and trying to do what we do. Same thing with the page, just kind of keep growing it and keep it what it's been. And then from a fishing perspective, frankly, I told myself at the beginning of this year, and then I kind of took the summer off. I was going to throttle down a little bit on tournaments just because, these guys make fun of me for being old, but I've played a lot of sports in my life, and it's kind of hard on your body, and my body doesn't exactly hold up to these long drives and long tournaments. So I'm looking at kind of a bubble of distance I'm going to travel for some of these tournaments. So I'm kind of wait and see mode on how far, where these tournaments are going to be and how far I can go to fish them. But I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be a fun season.
Dan, what about you? What do you think Bassmaster has to do for you to cough up the money if they have to do anything, or are you just happy with status quo?
Well, they've said it. The tournament director, that was the biggest one. Now, John Stewart, he was obviously a joke. It sucked.
KBN is rubbing in on that barrier.
No,
but you're right. You're right. No disrespect to John, but it was.
A new tournament director knows what he's doing, some new rules. It's not like they have to reinvent the wheel. They just have to do it correctly.
That interview with sorry to interrupt, but I have to say this. That interview John Stewart had and Dwayne Wally, not putting it on Dwayne Wally, but that interview, they both were there. I'm like, I can't possibly believe that they come out worse now after that podcast. It's like, they just how could they possibly make it worse? John Stewart did a horrible job.
We didn't even try to bury him.
I'm like, he doesn't go home. I'm like, this guy is not getting the trust on anybody.
We've had a couple damning podcasts, and I think people hype themselves up. They're like, I'm really going to get out here and shit the bed tonight. Like, watch this. Like, you think I can't do worse? I got you. Here I come. Like, I don't know. I don't understand the motivation for it. John ran the Bass Nation. I think he knows how to run a bass boat tournament. I think he was, obviously he'd been there for a long time. Very good at that. I don't think it was necessarily a lack of effort. I think it was a lack of knowledge. Like, he didn't have someone, a competitive kayak angler there to help him, to guide him through some of this stuff. Like, I think he was making these decisions and then learning they were wrong after the fact. And did it suck? Yeah, it did. I think it's better now that he's gone. I don't wish for him to lose his job working with bass, period. But I definitely think he didn't need to be involved in the kayak side.
Self-awareness is very important. If you don't know what you're talking about, you don't know what you're doing, just hire somebody that does.
Yeah.
And even Steve Owens, I've talked to Steve Owens, and Steve Owens always said on my podcast, is like the thing he was saying as a compliment. Looking back at it, I'm like, yeah, it's not a compliment. But he said, like, it takes a lot to you really have to convince John Stewart. I'm like, I'm sorry, Steve, you're the expert. You know better. Why do you have to convince him?
And
should be the other way around.
Like, he was all in from the beginning, trying to help these guys. And I think that was a point of frustration, is why he left working with Bass, is because he's like, they're not listening to shit I'm saying, so I'm just going to go on and not worry about it anymore.
Dan, going back to you, I want to ask you the same question. What are you most looking forward for next season for the Reel Down, your podcast, and what you're doing in your tournaments?
Just same thing with the podcast. We have no intention of changing. Just top 3 winners each week. We just a little engine that could. I don't know. And National Trail, like I want to go for. I have a 6-year-old and a wife. It's hard to, easy for me to say in the off season, oh, I want to chase it. I want to do that. I don't know how realistic that is, but like, I want to chase one trail next year. I want to go and see, I want to put my money on the table and see what's up, man. I want to fish them all and just see how it shakes out.
Shakes up. Yeah. Well, you've done.
I've only got a year or two. My kid does travel hockey, and he's only 6. I'm going to be doing my kid's stuff. So
y'all got ice in Alabama?
Yeah, we have one little skate rink.
It's crazy.
We happen to live right by it. We took him to a game. And he said, "I want to do that," and he's been doing that ever since. So
I like it.
It's fun. It's always in the AC, which is nice.
I took my daughter to the Tennessee game 2 weeks ago for homecoming, and she was watching the halftime show, and she said, "Dad, I want to go to school here." She's like, "I've never been more sure of anything in my life." And I was like, God, that's going to be expensive. That's all. I was like, ooh, I'm going to have to work a lot harder. You better get a scholarship, sweetheart. You can't tell them no. If they're sure of something, you can't tell them no. So,
it's not like she wants the shiny new car. It's like it's her education.
She wants that too.
Oh, but I'm saying, bud. I go ahead and tell you.
But that's the thing. You can just say like, well, education. I'll
I'll waste this money, honey. You'll be working at Starbucks in 4 years.
I was blessed to meet Ryan's daughter at Pickwick. We went out to dinner and had a good time, and she informed me that she'd already been looking at some really, really, really nice cars. So
she wants a BMW. She's pretty set on a BMW.
Wow.
Did you tell her you didn't qualify for the TLC this year?
She knows, buddy. She knows. She is my biggest heckler. She Jeff can attest to that. She gets her daddy's smart ass mouth. Like, she does not check up.
Yeah, you better sling more than CT, MRI deals.
Buddy, I reckon I'm gonna sell KBN for about $1.5 million. Me and Jeff gonna cut out of here.
Hey, I do have a question. I've heard some negative things. 3 of us are in Hobies. Is Hobie okay?
It's a whole other podcast, brother.
So, as far as okay, so they got bought out, right?
Yeah.
They got bought out by a group that basically flips companies. They cut the dead weight and they make things profitable. From what I understand, they moved manufacturing from overseas to Mexico. to cut down on supply chain lag. That way they're not short on parts and, essential items because I mean, honestly, during COVID, and I know COVID was a huge explosion in the outdoor industry, but they were able to get hulls because they're molding them here, but they couldn't get any of the accessory parts. So they were shipping hulls without seats and drives and, necessities. So they're like, hey, how can we fix this? Anyway, long story short. So they moved that over. So there was a lag there. I think there was some catch-up time between shutting one factory down and opening the factories in Mexico. They restructured a lot of their sales organization. And I don't know where they're at now. But honestly, I don't know where they're at now as far as, are these owners happy with what they have? Are they trying to bid it out, and get it sold? Like, I don't know the answer to that. What I do know is there will be a Hobie Bass Open Series, and there will continue to be Hobie kayaks. And I think they have some things to tweak, especially on the 360. A lot of holes were cracking, a lot of belts were breaking. Like, there's some quality issues there, and I think that kind of caused them to hemorrhage money, because when you're selling that many new kayaks and you're having to replace, and I mean, they're great on their warranty. They are.
Yeah.
I got a story about that.
If it screws up, like, you'll get a boat eventually, but they didn't give you one.
My Hobie PA had cracks in the scupper holes on the deck side, right? Not on the bottom. I had my Outback previously from 3 years ago had on the bottom, and they replaced it, no questions asked. This time, when I take it to the dealer and the dealer says, "Hey, I'm gonna be honest with you, it's their decision, but be ready for a fight." I'm like, "What are you talking about? It's crack on the horse." It's like, management is different. They've been turning down these types of warranty. I'm like, you got to be kidding me. They took him a while. He had to kept calling, because it used to be same day you would get an answer. So one I had to wait a whole week. So the dealer got so pissed off at the lady that's handling my warranty. He told me, says, "I got her number. You call her and you deal with her." So I call her, and she said, like, I'm gonna warranty this once, and I'm not gonna warranty it again. I'm like, why is that? It's just like, well, you need to learn I suggest you read the manufacturing instruction, how to store it and how to transport it. I'm like, wait a minute. I sent you the pictures at your request last week of how I store it and how I transport it. What's the problem with it? And it says, no, the pictures is fine. We know by this cracks that's not it. But since we can't prove it, we're going to warranty it. So basically, she was telling me, you're lying. She was telling me straight up, you're lying, but because I can't prove it, I'm going to warranty it, but I'm not going to warranty it anymore after this. This is just one whole replacement for this kayak.
I don't know what that's like. That's crazy.
I was like, and it was the scupper holes on the top. What ended up happening, and I was talking to somebody else, because what I do is, as I gain balance, I stand, which I stopped doing it. I stand on top of that little hatch with a bucket.
Oh yeah.
And somebody told me, says like, dude, you're standing on it. You have to stand on the path. So that's what ended up breaking it. But according to her, she's like, no, you're using the ratchet straps. I'm like, where in the pictures do you see a ratchet strap? And it's like, well, I can just tell by the crack that you're doing it wrong. I'm like, they warranty it, and I just got it this
mother.
Yeah. I was like, no.
Jeff went to a 180 drive, and I've been super happy with it. Until there's a big change in the 360s, I won't have another 360 drive, I promise. Until Old Town can figure out how to keep grass from getting wrapped up on that prop, I won't have one of them either. So
they take in too much water too, man. I wanted to take the one with the one with the motor. With it,
no,
the autopilot.
The autopilot. That thing just screws.
I had 3 Old Towns, and I never had.
No, not on the hull, on the scupper. Not on the hull inside, but the scupper.
You're thinking of a native, Armando.
No, I had it.
Nah, bro. Dude, I'm a big dude and carry too much stuff. I don't get no water in them things.
Really? I fished with Carlos Torres, and I was like, dude, how much water? Not inside the hull, like the cabin,
Yeah.
but just inside the cabin. Like
Now,
on
He,
top.
he probably rolling with a lead acid battery or something in there,
That could
sinking
be.
it down.
Yeah,
maybe.
I mean, they're slow. Like they're super
They're
slow.
really
But
slow.
as far as taking in water, I didn't see any water in
No.
Marks as I blew past him.
Okay, so maybe it's not.
I really wish they would make one between the big water and the 120. Like there's a better tournament kayak in there, you know.
I sent a guy that works at Old Town pretty high up. I sent him a list of about 8 very good suggestions on how to make that particular platform the ultimate freaking kayak fishing platform. Whether it happens or not, we'll see. But I'm trying to help. I'm trying to grow the sport over here.
It's coming because people don't realize Old Town has got deeper pockets than any of these other companies.
yeah.
They just
I
have
do
to want.
realize
They just have
that's
to
why I don't know
want.
why their boats aren't better.
They just have to. Hey, man, they're tanks. You got to give them that. They are tanks.
Yeah,
they don't
they
break.
are.
Yeah.
They are, but I mean, dude, the PDL is, while it's ugly, it is super fast. It's literally it's seat height and rod storage for the PDL. If they could fix those 2 things, I wouldn't have another thing that I would change on it. Like to me, fishing out of one, those are the 2 things that I really missed: rod storage, and I wanted to sit up higher because my knees.
I've been banging that rod storage drum for 6 years. I've been with Old Town. So.
The Jackson NAR has good rod storage. I like it, but it's just their PDL, their drive is crap.
Those are on clearance right now. Those are on clearance all over America right now.
Yeah, Ryan, you and I tried that the new NAR at ICAST, and you told me the same thing. That drive is crap. I mean,
I tried it. Actually, I tried it before ICAST. Jamie got one in at his shop, and I went and tried it on the test pond, and no,
it's bad. That drive is bad.
As a clean miss. Sorry.
The one they had on ICAST was horrible.
The seat is terrible.
Now the layout of the hull is amazing. I love.
So that's what I said. I said honestly, if you just took this hull and took this drive out of it and made it just a motor only kayak, like the storage is great. The battery, I really like the battery integration they had. I like they had where you basically pre-drill the holes for foot steering for a motor. Like the rest of that kayak is super well thought out. Yeah, that's really cool. But damn, that drive is just rough.
And it was their calling, like this, like their huge selling point this year was their drive. I'm like, nope.
If you have a gear that's this big around sticking up in front of you, you didn't knock it out of the park. Like that's a fact.
It needed to be at least comfortable, and it wasn't.
But it's got like that much track on the top, so it's
Yeah, but the pedals, I don't. But plus, if it's gonna look like, to Ryan's point, if it's gonna look like that, I need it to be silky smooth. I don't care if it looks like that, but at least be like, oh, this is comfortable. But even that, it was like, and I tried the seat every single position. I was like, no, it's the drive. The drive is pretty.
Yeah, that was tough. I spent about an hour in it out there on the pond, like a 1 acre pond, just going and just trying everything I could to, tipping point, how fast it turned, everything. But the drive was the biggest hang up for me. I was like, yeah, this just isn't gonna cut it.
Yep. It is fast though.
It is fast, but it's stable. I think it's even more stable than the PA14.
And
probably as stable as the Predator.
It's quieter than their first rendition of their drive. I'll say that. Yeah. But it's a super jerky motion at about 25% kicking over the top of that giant gear. Like you feel that a lot.
You can see it when you watch videos. You can see it's like push. It's very strange.
Sometimes in the Hobie, I feel a little like emasculated, where I'm like flutter kick.
Yeah, I don't like it, but then I get in like a grass mat and I can still go, and I'm like, damn it.
No, it gets so shallow too. Like I think that was I'm not trying to get into a big kayak thing here, but that was the thing I was most surprised about my PA is I can get so shallow in it, like way back in a creek for such a big boat.
And
that's awesome.
And the fins bring a lot more torque in each pedal than a propeller. That's just fact. I mean, you get a lot of torque with that fin.
A lot of torque.
Yeah. Have you seen that video of the two guys that are competing? One is on Jeff says
it's physics. That's surface area.
That he's pulling a PDL, and the other one is like a tug of war with a PDL and a PA14. the video.
I've
had
seen a
no
I've seen a drag race between the two.
No, I seen the
Jeff,
and I see the guy in the video
Jeff
is
ain't
just
trying
like
to
pedaling
duck pull
for his
truck.
whole life.
What are we doing? That's like a duck pulling a truck, Jeff.
We racing for pinks, baby.
Well, Jeff, Ryan, I've had you for like an hour. And Ryan, I know you're not even home. Jeff, you've been working all day on the house, so I'll leave you with this. You want to go ahead and plug in your sponsors and thank anybody you want to thank, and any final words on the the podcast and everything else.
You go first, Jeff. I want to see what you do, and then I'll mirror that.
Yeah, shout out to Old Town Kayaks. They do not break.
There you go. There you go.
And they do not take water.
That's right. No, but yeah, I've been with Old Town a long time, and I do love the Old Town boats. For the podcast side of things, I just appreciate everybody that watches, man. We have a great time doing it. It wouldn't be the same if we didn't have so many people watching and mixing it up with us in the comments every Monday night. So everybody that ever watches it, we appreciate y'all. All the sponsors that support it, we appreciate them. So yeah, just shout out to all of you. We appreciate you.
I'm glad Jeff had the Kayak Bass Nation spoof rankings that we built literally all of this on, or else we probably wouldn't be sitting here right now. Obviously, Jamie Coes at the Dugout Bait and Tackle, super great family. I mean, person himself, but huge selection of tackle. We got a lot of big things coming. We got some announcements that are going to come in the off season. I'm not locked into any kayak brand. I'm not sponsored by anybody. So if you got a check and you want to buy my opinion, go ahead and write it. And I'll tell good stories about you. Thanks for having us on, Armando. Love hanging out with you. Love the platform. It's always a good conversation. You're always willing to mix it up pretty good. So that's it. Dan, congrats on the Pelicans KFL championship. Never had a doubt you guys were going to win it.
Go Pels.
I did, but it worked out.
MVP.
I didn't. Once the Tennessee Shiners imploded, I was like, this is a no-brainer. Like, the Pelicans got it.
Yeah, I was surprised by that.
I'm missing something. Is it the Pelicans or the Kingfishers?
No, it's the Kingfishers.
So I couldn't
remember the name one night and started calling them the Pelicans. So I called them Pelicans ever since.
Yeah, whenever Christine jumped ship early in the season, I was like, well, they're done.
Yeah. Beginning of the end.
Yeah.
Well, guys, congratulations and everything you've accomplished. Even though you didn't make it to the TOC, Ryan.
Man, shut up.
But
I'm still waiting on the call. It's not over yet, Armando. I'm 2 spots out.
Only 2 spots?
Hey, the flu is
alligators before the tournament.
You know how much crap we're gonna have to take if Ryan, if you get in there, we'll never hear the end.
I'm ready. My shit's loaded. I'm ready right now.
The flu, COVID, and strep.
AJ texts me on Thursday. I'm Louisiana bound, baby. I know exactly where I'm going.
You're waiting for some gators to do their job over there, like.
I got some shooters down in Cajun country. I can get some people get the.
He just needs Dylan to pick up RSV or something. He'll be good to go.
We're one outbreak away from me making the TOC.
That's hilarious. Well, regardless, guys, again, congratulations on everything you've been able to accomplish both on and off the water. Looking forward to what you're going to be doing in tournaments and the KBN next year. And you're always welcome to come in. I plan to have you at least once a year at the end of every season to just kind of like do a rundown,
just to make sure we're still on the air.
All right,
appreciate you, brother.
Dan, any final words?
No, man. I don't have anything.
Pelicans out. Pelicans out.
For those that made it this far, we thank you again. Appreciate you listening. Hope you enjoyed this episode as much as we did recording it. Go follow the sponsor, DouglasOutdoors.com. Peace out, everyone. If you're gonna be fishing, wear your PFDs. If you're gonna have a couple of beers, just make sure you drink responsibly. Take care, everyone.
Cheers.
That's not beers, but okay.